dear sister, and today we're reading Saturnastra Chalon. This is chapter 4. Anyhow, with the hood seal shut, the rose activated their gimmick, providing artificial, fresh air for our odor-sensitive Chalon. And one of the farmers who saw Chalon cover his head completely chuckled. In this new form, with the hand of power and the evil eye for a face, he called a lot of attention. Hood ornaments were common, but mass magic uses did not inspire much confidence. Chalon walked up to the flower girl who had giggled, and she giggled when she saw him come closer. He gingerly started picking through her merchandise with a purpose. The flower girl seemed about to protest, but she kept silent. She noted the chalkboard that Chalon had tied to his robe by 2 chains. The strange mute message was clearly visible. Chalon always took care to rewrite the message after he concluded each conversation. The first flower Chalon chose was a cosmos. He got about 5 of them. His lingering gaze hidden behind the hood then landed on a pansy. Of the flowers he acquired about 7. He then added to his growing bouquet 19 catmint, and he concluded with 3 scabiosas and 3 calla lilies. The total number of flowers he bought was 37. He then bought a single red ribbon which he twirled around the bouquet 3 times before giving it a little bow. The flower girl who watched Chalon with mild amusement, and she asked, "Going to a funeral?" Chalon did not answer. The girl timidly watched the evil eye, trying to guess Chalon's emotions. In the end, she said, "That will be 97 copper coins, please." Chalon handed her a silver coin before putting the bouquet away, and she was about to give him change, but he shook his head in response. The flower girl smiled and turned her attention to her coins. She placed the extra 3 coins inside her sock, and the rest went inside a little lockbox that was behind the counter. She frowned when she felt something dripping on her hand. Chalon did too notice, and he saw that it was blood. The girl cleaned her hand with a dingy handkerchief before returning to deal with another prospective customer. Chalon found his way towards the stairs, and the smell of fish and rotting meat was most pungent there. And there was a garbage can nearby, and as he walked up the stairs, a person from a nearby banister dropped a piece of swine head into the garbage pile. The stairs were designed in such a way as to provide a little balcony between each floor and the rooms above, and the stairs were dog-ledged, meaning that there was an upward turn between each flight of stairs. The separation of the balcony allowed for light to come from the roof all the way down to the floors below. The roof was made of stained glass. The window was decorated with a beautiful blue peacock sitting on a branch. The staircases were made of single slabs of wood pressed against the wall. This gave the stairs a bit of a floaty feel, and they were cut in alternate steps. It had a single rail for protection. Chalon noted that the railing was made of pine, and meanwhile the stairs were made of sandalwood. It seemed to Chalon that the railings were a new, cheap addition, and when he came to the 2nd floor he found the source of the blood. The butcher shop was for some reason located on the 2nd floor, and from one of the back windows Chalon saw people hauling up a squealing pig. It was then brought forth and held down by 2 men, while another came at it with a knife to stab it to death. Chalon frowned at this, but nobody noticed because he was using his rose as a respirator. The butcher with the knife cleaned his hand with a dirty apron, and then he looked up and took a step back when he saw Chalon. The other man too started to stare daggers at the magic stranger. The butcher calmed down a bit when he noticed the sign that Chalon was wearing. Historically speaking, no mute had ever committed a crime in society. Coming close to the butcher with a dirty apron said, "How may I help you?" Before Chalon took out a chalk and an eraser, he then erased his old message before writing, "Blood." "You want some blood? Of what kind?" "We have some fresh pig blood if you want some. Cow, chicken, rooster. My brother's a piece of Artsy, so I can even get you some human blood, if it pleases you," said the butcher. It may surprise you, but the demand for blood was not uncommon in the kingdom. The entire trend started with the farmers who started drinking the blood of the animals they tended to because lords did not allow them to eat their meat. Otherwise, the butchers started to store and preserve blood, along with the pieces of animal that people normally did not want. And aside from the farmers, there was the occasional magic user who visited the butcher shop looking for some blood, and they were usually sold in standard 1 liter bottles. In answer to his inquiry, Chalon wrote, 2 pigs, 3 goats, 2 cows. The butcher came to look at Chalon's board, and he was about to admit something embarrassing when one of the apprentices came and whispered to the butcher, "He wants 2 pigs, 3 goats, and 2 cows." Like, the butcher didn't know how to read, and he was embarrassed about it. The butcher nodded and said, "We will deal with that later. As for your order, will you be paying in coins or in banknotes?" Banknotes was a relatively new development, and due to the wars, a lot of copper and silver had been smelted into weapons. As such, it was common that certain shops would take banknotes as a different type of currency, and it was slowly changing, and the butcher may not know how to read, but he had a keen view of the future. Soon coinage was going to become obsolete. Chalon reached inside his sleeve and he pulled out a wad of banknotes, and the butcher mentally did the conversion and then said, "That will be 54 notes and 10 coppers." Chalon in response gave him 55 banknotes, and when the butcher went to give him the change, Chalon shook his head in response. Having paid up front, Chalon folded his arms as he waited for his purchase to be fetched. The blood was usually stored in the basement, and there was a special ladder designed for storing blood, and it kept them at a nice 53 degrees Fahrenheit. And if the winter along, one could even have a bloody frosty. Thankfully for Chalon, it was late spring, and as such the blood was not going to be frozen solid. And after receiving his pay, the butcher went to retrieve Chalon's order, and normally he would have sent one of the boys, but he was not in the mood for dealing with magic users. And while Chalon waited, one of the apprentices came to ask him some questions. The first one was, what is with the face covering? "It smells," wrote Chalon on his board. The apprentice came closer to read what Chalon had written, and the boy went by the name of Justin. Tio, and his family used to be rich, but now they were poor, and his father was in the workhouse while his mother wasted away in whatever money Justin made gambling or fooling around. And since he had an early education, he knew how to read and write. He was indispensable to the butcher. Justin chuckled when he read what Chalon had written, and then he said, "I don't smell anything." "And how old are you? And how long are you going to be staying in society?" "I am 17, and we will leave in 2 months," wrote Chalon, and he seemed eager to add more information, but he chose not to. After double-checking his digits, he showed his answer to Justin, and both numbers were lies. And his caravan was scheduled to move out in 15 days, and we do not use age to measure people's growth, and our power has gone a long way, and toddlers can be born as old geezers while old men can rejuvenate into toddlers. And Chalon had felt particularly infantile when he had come to this world, so much so that he pretended to be a baby when he made first contact with the locals, and it is fun pretending to be a baby for the most part, and it all depends on the person who picks you up, and if the person turns out to be a douche, then he had another thing coming his way. Anyhow, Justin's next inquiry was about Chalon's name, and he said, "My name is Justin, what is your name?" "Chalon," wrote Chalon. "And how do you pronounce that?" asked Justin. Chalon opened his mouth to pronounce his name, but he stopped, realizing what Justin was just about to make him do. Grinning, Justin asked, "Would it be so bad for you to speak? Most mute people these days are cultists. Does not speaking help you at all? And why do you choose not to speak?" "Silence is gold, speaking is silver," wrote Chalon. "I don't get it. Care to explain it, Sister Justin?" "People regret what they say, but rarely what they choose not to say," explained Chalon. Justin was thoughtful for a bit, and he was ruminating about his father and how his big mouth had gotten him sent to the workhouse in the first place, and he was about to continue the conversation, but he saw that the butcher arrived with a purchase. And Chalon received the bottles one by one, and each time he got one, he placed it beneath his sleeves. And Chalon left the shop and he made his way upstairs, and he found a door that was closed with a little simple key. And using basic telekinesis, he made the lock give way, and he entered the small, poorly-lit room, and then he locked the door behind him. It had a small window and a large raised step about a meter high, and at its center there was a wooden circle. Chalon rose with his feet, and he grimaced. This was a type of toilet. He had been desiring to party, but he decided to hold it in till he returned home. And while most of his people were content to go in the wounds, Chalon still preferred the good old-fashioned toilet bowl. Chalon still made down the hole, and he peered down and he noticed that he fell in a cart below, and he ran out of there before the mountain of compost made him shudder. And when he left the apartment building, he removed his hood to breathe in a sigh of relief, and there was only 2 other places he had to visit, and the first place was a little working garden. It faced La Imperia's palace, and it was demanded that the places nearest the palace had to be visually pleasing. and this little 4-bedroom manor was no exception. Normally rich people live together in large family homes with at least 70 snobs all stuck together, and this manor used to be like that, but over time the family shrunk, and the last 2 surviving members one day tore down most of their mansion to make room for a working garden, and the 2 cousins lived together cultivating the land from the safety of the walls. And normally gardening projects were done outside the walls. However, the nobles took a whack at it, and they usually did it within the walls. And as long as they were within the property line, such projects were allowed. And the first thing one noticed when passing by the exterior of the house were the brick walls and the decorated iron fence. And over the wall, branches of some of the fruiting trees spilled out over the pavement. And Chalon noted one of the homeless people eating a mango, and he was sitting beneath a plaque that read, "Any fruit that spilled over the street is public property." And aside from the mangoes, the public had easy access to almonds, apples, avocados, pecans, and cherries. The homeless population in society relied on these branches for sustenance, and looking after the streets were 2 fellows who stood watch, and there were homeless veterans who found a purpose in making certain that no one person could claim the entire harvest of branches for themselves for selling. And Chalon pushed the gate to enter the garden, and it slowly creaked open. And the garden had the family name of the aster. Aster also happened to be the name of a flower, and a lot of insect larvae like eating this flower, and it has purple petals with a yellow center. And despite belonging to the family of the aster, the flower did not feature at all in the entire garden. And Chalon did notice in some of the insignias on the crumbling walls and even on the coat of arms decorating the main door of the house. And Chalon knocked twice on the oak door and then 3 times, and a note was slipped under the door. The note read, "What do you want?" The person writing the note was the eldest cousin, and he was 75 years old. His name was Aislinn, but he was known in the cabaret as Ace. And during the working days, he used to take turns with his cousin managing the shop, and Ace would handle the customers in the daytime while his cousin slept, and when night fell, the pair would work together in the garden for about 8 hours before calling it a night. And Ace would then take his time to get some well-deserved sleep. And Ace had short grayish-white hair while he combed it back behind his ear, and his brown eyebrows were the same color, and his face was pale with some slight hints of color in the cheeks and forehead, and his nose was medium perky. And his most striking feature were his green eyes and bluish-red lips, and there was something of a neutrality to his overall facial feature, and he could either pass for a male or a female. And his cousin Hardwin shared the same face shape, but his eyes were blue and large and more expressive. Time, bro?
11 minutes.
His hair was red and his nose was covered in freckles. His nose also a little snub. Chalon brought out a quill without any ink, and he then took the paper and he scribbled on the back of it. Ace, looking through the peephole, noticed Chalon's strange attire, and he frowned when he saw that Chalon was a recreational mute. Ace also did have his tongue too, but as of lately he had sworn off the world, and he went out to the cabaret to hide his new disposition for Hardwin. And Chalon scribbled on the paper, "I want some fruits," and he then passed the note under the door, and Ace read the note before throwing it away. And he took a clean sheet of paper which he used to write your order. Chalon wrote 29 lychees, 3 bundles of jabuticaba, 5 passion fruits, and 11 mangosteen. Chalon returned the note, and Ace read the order and did not know how to make sense of it, and as far as he knew, he did not have any of those items. He passed the note under the door, saying, "I do not have any of those items." And Chalon replied, writing, "Yes, you do. I can see the lychee tree from where I'm standing." And before he passed the note, he took out his chalkboard and he illustrated each of the fruits with the names he had given each of them. Ace smacked his own forehead slightly, now coming to an understanding. Those fruits were a relatively new acquisition, and these trees had only been planted there about 5 years ago. And since they had come from a foreign land, the fruits did not have a standardized name like the common lemons and oranges. So like he did have the fruit, but he just didn't know what they were called. So then when he asked for them in specific, he'd be like, "I don't know what the hell you want from me." Since he was not too certain about how could be that resembled grace, Ace was forced to do something he did not want to. And Chalon heard the rattling of the chains, and eventually the front door opened, and a person with a large round hat with a veil clad in black came out. And the veil was tied to his neck to keep it steady, and he beckoned Chalon to follow. And the pair walked through the garden, and each time Ace stopped facing a certain type of grape. And in no particular order, Chalon saw Pinot Noir, Sweet Jubilee, kiojo in Riesling. And after a couple of minutes of quickly walking behind it, Chalon saw the jabuticaba he was looking for. Ace took a nearby basket and he handed it to Chalon, and Chalon shook his head in response. And he picked the 3 bundles he wanted, and each time he placed a bundle under his sleeve. And Ace frowned beneath this, but he said nothing. And the other fruits were easier to find, and they have a distinctive enough features to be recognized on sight. And the lychee tree was only relatively young, and after scanning through it, Chalon was shocked to know that the tree only had 7 fruits. Chalon wrote, "Don't you have any more lychees?" Ace shook his head in response, and Chalon narrowed his eyes like he did not believe the fellow. He stood there and he waited before Ace started walking again, and he led Chalon to another lychee tree, and this one was slightly smaller than the previous one, but it had 4 branches and all swollen with lychees. Chalon took the remaining lychees, and it was at this point that Ace extended his hand to point to Chalon's coin purse, and understanding that Ace wanted money, Chalon got ahead of him and he paid for all of the fruits in advance. And he gave him a flat 45 gold coins and no change, and as Ace extended his hand to take the coins, he stopped for a moment and he spoke for the first time, but more to himself. He said, "Something is a little bit off." And he walked over the flower bed, and some of the roses were with hips, and he counted all of them, and his face turned even paler when he noticed that 4 of them were missing. And he kneeled down on the ground and he removed his gloves to gently stroke the part of the plant that was missing. And Chalon walked a little closer to see what was the matter. Ace, not turning around, said, "You are still here. Get the rest of your order and get lost. And if you get anything beyond what was agreed upon, that I will put your head on a pike." Chalon seemed about to say something, but instead he chose to remain silent, and he bit his lower lip to swallow his words back. And another time he would have been eager to help, but he was running an important errand. The matter could not be put off till late, and Chalon noted the position of the sun, and he decided to rush through this specific errand. And after getting his passion fruit and leaving the coin at the entrance of the house, he ran to his next destination. And he slowed down somewhat as he approached the steps of a small, narrow house. And it was one of many finely crafted door attached to his neighbor's stable house, and there was about 15 houses of the similar design, and they all had a small front garden and a stone backyard. And the main difference between them was the color and the number of floors each home had. The one Chalon visited in particular had 5 floors, and there was a number of ladies drinking tea in the front porch, and they wore finely crafted dresses and ornamental hats. And once inside, Chalon saw a room with 50 hats on display, and the ladies naturally frowned and whispered when they saw Chalon enter. And since he had his hood lowered, they were all able to see that he was not from there. And while the ladies of the house was busy with another patron in another room, Chalon started trying on the hats. And he found a full-body mirror with a golden frame decorated with acanthus, and the mirror was square, and it reflected the other room that was separated by a small archway. And the first hat that he wore was purple with lots of ribbons and laces, and he had a couple of short peacock feathers as accent. Tempo?
It's 2 minutes and 30 seconds. 5 minutes and 30 seconds.
Chalon placed it on his head, and he changed his features to resemble someone else that he knew. And the first person that he turned into was our good old Marduk. And Chalon imagined his brother might dig a colorful hat, and the second hat he tried on was a flaming red one with dried ostrich plumes and a ruby at the center surrounded by pearls. Chalon grew red hair and flaming eyes, and he thought that he might like the silly hat, but then he pondered if such a lovely gift might get eaten instead of worn. And he did the same gimmicks a couple of times till a toddler noticed Chalon playing around with the hats, and the toddler told his mother, "There's a weirdo playing with the hats." His mother added a couple of pins to her dress she was fitting for a young lady, and taking the hat from Chalon's hand, she said, "Give me that. If you haven't come to buy, then get out." The toddler came to stand beside his mother, and clutching her dress, he said, "The man was making funny faces." "Oh, he was now," said the lady, and she was meaning to say more on the matter, but she noticed the strange sign around Chalon's neck. Instead, she asked, "Are you really a mute, or are you faking it for alms?" Chalon wrote, "Do I look like a hobo to you?" "You are not the first well-dressed vagabond that stinks up my store," said the lady, annoyed. And the name of the lady was Susan Favors, and she was a young widow with 9 girls and a little toddler boy named Zeus. And like many anachronical names, this was This one was partly Chalon's fault, and whenever he was drawing a blank, he would rewrite a story from the ancient times into a play to sell it as his own work. And it wasn't a complete copy and paste type of deal. And much of the dialogues and scenes were edited depending on the audience and the general mood of the city. And if a city was going through a regression type of period, the stories were transformed into parodies. If the city was happy and jolly, then Greek tragedies were the norm. And there was one source that Chalon never tapped into, and one can only see Romeo and Juliet for so long before the work and all of its associates become bothersome. And truly there are better stories out there, and one does get tired of needlessly flowery language. I mean, were those stories even written for human consumption? But I digress. Now back to Lady Susan. And this middle-aged rich widow was often coveted by men, and many entered her shop pretending to be something they were not, but she could smell the poverty in them. And Lady Susan was in no hurry to get married, and these frequent encounters with Starker was part of the reason why she was not showing the least hint of civility when engaging Chalon. To her, he was just another impertinent suitor. Time, bro?
2 minutes, 30 seconds.
In response to her impertinent question, Chalon wrote, I apologize for the smell. I just came out of the butcher shop. Oh, I see. I can barely tolerate going there. And last time I visited, one of my dresses got stained with blood, and whose idea was it to put the butcher shop over the flower shop? It makes no sense, does it? Said Lady Susan more to herself. It certainly does not, wrote Chalon, and he erased this when he noticed that Lady Susan had not read it. And after erasing it, he wrote down on his board, "Pickup order." When she read this, Chalon handed her a receipt with a purchase order, and Lady Susan was quite organized with her orders, and she was one of the few shops that utilized receipts. And they were made by her oldest daughter, Sophia, and she was saving up money as a scribe to get herself a husband. At least it was the working theory. Alright, so let's just leave it here. Bye-bye and God bless.